This is an example of a drought and conservation reporting report. This is a particular water system that is doing drought and conservation reporting. These are for water systems that are not urban water suppliers. We have a catch-all for them. If they're community water systems or NTNC schools that are not urban retail water suppliers, they're required to do a drought and conservation reporting. So we did a catch-all for those systems to do drought and conservation reporting in the clearinghouse. There's a certain number of fields that are available for these systems, and that's what we have included here. The first tab is the water shortage tab. The water shortage tab is intended to get information about your current status and your preparedness for a water shortage. These are fields that we've asked for systems in the past in different formats. We have consolidated all of them into one place. Sometimes in the efforts of consolidating reporting, we have to take the most common denominator. If something is only in one report and not in the other reports, then you might see it here for the first time because we're trying to satisfy multiple reporting requirements in one report. In water shortage, you're going to see an icon on the top. This icon will either be red, yellow, or green. The red icon indicates that you have a missing field. So if I did not answer something, it says required field right there, and I save this report, it's in training, thankfully, what's going to happen with this icon is it's going to change from green to red. Since this is an already submitted report, it's going to also tell me I've made edits to a previously submitted report, and if I don't submit this report by 10 o'clock, the edits will not be saved and they'll be removed. And I can also revert to previously edited entries. So that's how the red icon works. Now, if all I have, let's say I've answered everything, and all I have is one yellow, I don't have any red fields, no required fields, I just have not availables checked and yellow fields, then this red icon will have changed to a yellow icon. This yellow icon indicates I can submit this report. I can do it. I can submit this report and it'll say it's partially completed. Not all fields have data, but all fields have been answered. You've answered this question by marking not available. So the report will be allowed to be submitted as long as every tab listed here is yellow or green. Can't have any reds. If any one of these are reds, you will not be able to submit the report. So that's really important to note. And if everything is answered, then everything will be green. The other thing that's also a common functionality for water shortage just in general, I'm not going to go question by question as of yet, is the no change checkbox. So you can notice that if I have a previous reporting period that I've entered and I've answered that question, and I want to say nothing has changed since the last reporting period, I can click on that checkbox. It carries over the no report, the no answer for the previous report, and I've now answered the same as previous. And if all of your answers are the same, in many cases they are, you can click on the no change all checkbox. You can go from completely unfilled to completely filled if nothing has changed. Now, important note, if you have a huge backlog, don't start from the most recent report and onward, because you won't benefit from this functionality. You have to start from the earliest and move onward, and every report will be a little easier to fill out because of that no change checkbox. Okay, so I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to come back and go through each individual field, but I'm going to move on to source reporting in a separate video. Source reporting has a list of the different types of sources available to the system. If any of these are incorrect, you will need to notify your LPA or DDW staff to correct something. So if you see something is a well and needs to be a surface water source, you see something that's misclassified, you see a missing intertie, missing source, you need to notify your district. And very importantly, you need to let them know when it was activated. So if you have a well, it's like, hey, we've had this source for 5 years, tell them the date at which it was activated, because you're going to want to report on that source. Because otherwise, if you don't report it right for source reporting, your supply and demand is going to be off, because we are taking that source reporting information and using it to populate your numbers in supply and demand. And I'll show you how that works as well. So very important that your source reporting is correct. Source reporting operates very similarly. We have 2 sections of this report. The first report is source information. It is static source information that does not change typically from reporting period to reporting period. On the left, you'll see our database information we already have. And on the right, you're going to see information that we do not have yet, that we are asking one time from a water system for this source. And once it is answered, we don't ask for it again unless it's changed. You can obviously change these numbers at any time. These figures right here are listed, and this pop-up will keep showing up until all of these answers are entered. If there's any blanks here, it'll just keep popping up. But if you don't have that information, you can just cancel it and you can still move on. It's just meant to be annoying just to collect the information. But we are eventually going to move all static source information out of here into a more static location and only ask for updates once a year instead of monthly. That is something that we're going to do in the future. Similarly to some other sources, we have source activity. Things that, did you utilize the source? So sometimes people ask, well, I didn't use the source, or the standby source or emergency source. I don't use that on a regular basis. That is how you answer no. And when you answer no, you no longer have to report a potable amount received or produced during reporting period. You no longer have to answer some, pump hours questions because you are no longer utilizing that source. So that's an overview of source reporting. Important to note that we also have the ability to do batch uploads for source reporting. So if you're finding yourself entering a lot of the same information month to month, you want an easier way than especially if you have 100 wells to go through the number of wells that you might have, then downloading the template, which will list all of your sources for that reporting period. And, you put in all your information and you batch upload it, it will allow you to fill all of these reports from one Excel spreadsheet. We have the same functionality for supply and demand to be able to batch upload sources of supply and sources of demand, the numbers for supply and numbers for demand. We can upload that not only across this system, but if you're an aggregated system, across all of the systems that you manage. And you can do that with one spreadsheet as well. And that's indicated. We don't have a no change all checkbox here because it's not appropriate, because you have numbers changing between periods, but it is our way to make things easier for water systems to submit. And similarly to source reporting, we have yellow flags here as well. Under potable supply, let's say the numbers that you have are preliminary and they are estimated, and you are expecting to get better numbers once these numbers are more vetted. We have something called preliminary estimate. Preliminary estimate will say yes if these numbers are not final and you're expecting to have new numbers. Important to note, if you have anything flagged as preliminary estimate in any monthly report, you will not be able to submit your AIR report until you provide your final numbers and say no for preliminary estimate. So you'll need to come back in here and correct that. And any preliminary estimate listed will mark the tab and the subtab and therefore the tab as yellow, as partially completed. So that's why it shows yellow. It's because there's something that's estimated. And the other reason why that you might have a yellow in the tab is because you do not meter. We're simply flagging the fact that one day, maybe if you're an urban, it's already required, or if you're non-urban, but you're under SB 552, one day you will be required to meter the volume of potable water delivered to your customers. And so we're flagging that one day that will be required. However, you can still submit your AR report. You don't have to answer that yes. In fact, this is really important to answer that properly, because if you say yes, you meter, you'll be asked to split out the reporting by category. And I'll go over that more in depth in another video. Now, the last tab here is review and submit. Now, review and submit is supposed to be, if you've ever used TurboTax, it's supposed to be a summary of all the errors that it found in the report. But not everything is an error. Some things are flags. We are working on a way to separate flags from errors so that it's a little bit more visual, a little bit nicer to review that way. But review and submit is going to show every tab available inside the report and some of the subtabs as well. And it's going to give you the status of every tab. You can see water shortage tab is yellow, just like it's yellow up here. Source reporting is green. It's also green up here. And then the potable supply, that preliminary estimate that was listed there, is showing there. And I did save that. And I go back to the error check. If any of the headers are red, you can click on the error and it will take you to that situation. So I clicked on preliminary estimate accidentally, and it actually took me over to the potable supply tab so that I could fix my flag if it is in fact needs to be fixed. And if I have a red one, sometimes you'll have a list, and I'll have that listed here. But sometimes you'll have a list of errors, and the ones at the bottom will typically say something like missing information, preliminary estimate, but the ones at the top will say something like required field. And the required field really are the things that make that tab red. Not everything in that list is making it red, just the ones that say required. If it's required information missing, if it's just missing information, that's different. But if it's required information, those are the ones that need to be addressed. And again, we're trying to figure out a better way to display it. There's some technological limitations for, we want to display it all like the whole required thing in red. There's some limitations to doing that. So we're trying our best to try to separate flags from actual errors that are keeping you from submitting the report. But in this case, this water system is able to go next. And now you go into the step 2 review. The step 2 review allows you to download a PDF copy of your report to send out to your staff, to check it, to double check it, send it to the operator, send it to someone that is knowledgeable, that is like, yeah, that looks accurate, we're good to submit. Or you can view it in the HTML format right there on the web and get to see, all the flags for not available data, any missing information that was not provided. That's if it's not highlighted, static source information. If it's highlighted, it's typically something that was in this report. So this is how you can get a nice review of what you are submitting as a part of this report. Then when you're ready, you hit next. You can certify that the information is true and accurate. It'll sign your name and the date, and then you'll be able to submit. And all submit does is it generates a PDF copy of this submittal. We'll email it to you within about 5 minutes. I believe there was a bug there. It should be fixed by now. And here you can also download the PDF, and you can download a finished copy. The only difference between the step 2 review PDF and the step 3 PDF is this one has the attest and submit button showing that you actually submitted your report. And then you can also view it in HTML in case you want to print it out from the web or view it in the web right there. And it basically is the same as the step 2, except it adds this attest and submit box right here. And of course, like you're seeing up here, if you make changes to any submitted report, you'll have until 10 p.m. to resubmit. And I'll do another video that kind of shows the process of editing and resubmitting. It's very simple, but you just have to reattest and submit anytime you make changes to a report.